Welcome to UATV. Now, ahead of French presidential election later this year, Russian state media recently stepped up its information campaign to discredit one candidate, largely viewed as more in favor of European Union unity compared to his far-right rival, Marine Le Pen. The Kremlin has also lended financial support to Le Pen's Front National, which openly campaigns an anti-EU, anti-immigration ticket. But how is Ukraine and Russia perceived in France? And what more can Ukraine do to promote a positive message in France? Joining us in the studio is Alain Guillemoles, a renowned French journalist who wrote 2 books about the Orange Revolution and the Maidan. Hello.
Hello.
We were talking about how Ukraine is perceived in France. In France, I understand that you have a project here between Ukrainian and French young journalists. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, it's true that Ukraine used to be not very well known inside the French audience because French were more aware of what's going on in Russia and were more have more cultural links with Russia, with Russian culture. So it's and Ukraine appeared as a unknown zone, but this is about to change, and because of the Orange Revolution, first lots of French media came here in this country during this period,
and the Maidan, of course,
began to report, and then with a second revolution, even more media were there. But it's true that we report in the French press about what's going on in Ukraine only when there is bad news. And we write a lot about the war, we write a lot about a crisis of internal displaced person, but not so much about process of reform inside Ukraine. And so this is one of the reasons why we had this idea to invite 30 young journalists, students of the French University Paris-Sorbonne, in the School of Journalism of Paris-Sorbonne. They came here for 10 days. It's a part of their education, their training. They are here to report.
And as I understand, they work with Ukrainian young journalists too.
Yes, it's a cooperation with the Mogila Academy, the School of Journalism of the Mogila Academy. So they are together in the School of Journalism, and some Ukrainian students help the French students to organize some reports and make a report all around Ukraine. I mean, not only in Kiev, but also in Kharkiv, Lviv, Rovno, and so on. And we focus not only on the question of the war, but also on social, cultural, politics, sport. So it's for them it's a training, and also for them it's a good opportunity to go deeper inside the Ukrainian reality.
Speaking about Ukrainian reality, how are Ukrainian reforms perceived in France now?
Of course, there is a frustration inside the political circle in France about what's going on in Ukraine. I mean, Euromaidan creates lots of hopes, and we expect that there will be a lot of change. And now we understood that this change will take a lot of time. But we also understand that this process is quite difficult. Among the positive change that we can notice, for example, there is a huge work has been done in the financial sector to make the financial sector more healthy.
With Prozoro, for example.
For example, with Prozoro, but also with the nationalization of the private bank, which was really necessary because it creates a big risk for the Ukrainian economy. And this decision was very difficult but courageous because it creates more stability in the country. The same with the decision of reform with Naftogaz or reform with gas sector in general. The decision that the gas will be buy only to Western client. It's create more stable relationship and more commercial relationship. So it's we enter in a more rational discussion, business discussion, and there is less politics involved in this crucial economic sphere.
Yeah, of course. But as we were talking about reforms, and you evoked the fact that it could have been a disappointment for the political French circle. What do you think? Why is this attraction from extreme or right parties to Russia, for example?
Well, it's true that, as I say when I began, unfortunately, a lot of French politics and political parties don't know so much about Ukraine. And this is the reason why when they try to understand what's going on here, they get their information through Russian channel, for example, and they stay in line with the Russian analysis, saying that, for example, we had some politician in France. It's Marine Le Pen, for example.
Yeah, we can say
the name, yes, to be more clear. In an interview a few days ago, she was in an interview, and there was a question about Crimea and Ukraine, and she just explained that, well, but you know, my position is that Crimea should be recognized as a Russian territory because Crimea was always Russian. And so it's very difficult to explain when somebody is so saying this with so many assurance. I mean, it's very difficult to reverse
to go against it
and to go against it because the truth is that Crimea was only Russian during 100 and something years, so not so much. I mean, not more than Algeria, for example, was French. And nobody in France is saying that Algeria is French anymore. So of course there is this deep ignorance of history who creates some confusion, and we perfectly understand who creates this confusion and who work for creating this ignorance.
And speaking about ignorance, it's this whole problem of fake news, and the fact that we're constantly, and we talked about it before, flooded by fake news from Russia, basically, and it's as you said, it's a huge problem. And do you really think that the French audience, the French public, really swallow that kind of news?
I think that now French audience is beginning to understand how much this flood of fake news is putting our democracy at risk, because we had several experiences. We experienced through the Brexit referendum, then through the election of Donald Trump, how much it could be dangerous to let it flow in our media. And now some major French media unite to try to make a campaign of fact-checking. And one of the major French media, Le Monde, create a tool.
Les décodeurs?
Which will, yes, it's called Les Décodeurs, and they create a tool called Decodex. And this will be a sort of, it will be a website when you can check if some resources are trustable or not. So they will you will just put your link inside the website in a little window, and they will say to you, green, it's okay, orange, be careful, red, don't believe it at all. So this is a very simple way to make people aware of the risk believing this fake news, and try to build a relation of trust between journalists and the audience.
Well, thank you very much for this interview, Mr. Guillemoles. This is Alexander Kerry for UATV.